Shalom. All praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, by Hashem Yahushai, by Hashem Kakodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well through the scriptures. Peace to the hopeful elect. The title of this lesson will be called But the End is Not Yet. You know, dealing with everything that's going on in the world and how we must remain prudent and things of that nature. So this is Matthew 24:4. And Yahweh shall answer and said unto them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am Mashiach, says Christ, but in Hebrew is Mashiach, meaning anointed, and shall deceive many. So all these people that's claiming to be a man of the Lord and not telling the people what the Bible say, they fit the scriptures. Now, some of them saying that the Messiah literally. You've been having people saying they're the Messiah literally, but even those that's saying that they have the doctrine, you know, they fall under that too. And it says, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars that's going on. The standoff with America and China, Russian jets flying off and close to American airspace. You got Russian choir singing, students and a student choir singing about the death and destruction of America. You got everything going on with Israel, those Jewish people that are not Israelites, but they're Israelis. You know, them with Palestine, with Syria in the mix, and Iran in the mix. You know, various countries. America with got troops positioned towards Venezuela. All right. It says, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines. Oh, I read verse 6 again. Ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. Yeah, all these things must happen before the kingdom of heaven is established, because it was written. It says, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines. All right, so there's a meat shortage right now because of they slaughtering the cows and the chickens and the swine, and because of this, a lot of this is under the umbrella of the coronavirus, and the COVID-19 is what they calling it. It's basically saying that this is it's like a trickle down effect of this coronavirus. All right, and the farmers can't they got to let the vegetation rot, because it's cheaper to let it rot than to pay the farm hands to pick it, and then they can't ship it off to a lot of the restaurants because they closed down. It says, and pestilence is where the coronavirus is a pestilence, Ebola a pestilence, AIDS, HIV, monkeypox, H1N1. I mean, it's like a couple every year. Okay. Salakia, I put my phone on do not disturb. I don't know why I'm getting text messages and things of that nature. Let me hurry up and put this over. Let me put that airplane mode on or something. Salakia, let me see. Right, it says, for nation shall rise against nation and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes. Now, there's if you keep track with the earthquakes, there's thousands of earthquakes happening. All right, all the time. It's just all the time, but it's not reported on mainstream news outlets and media like that. But it's many ones, it's big ones, is a lot in diverse places, so around the world. It says all these are the beginning of sorrows. All right, because it's gonna get worse. All right, but the point I want to focus in, it says, but the end is not yet, because we actually living in a time of this going on with the wars and the rumors of wars, the famines, the pestilence, the earthquakes. We still getting up and going to work within this time. So while we still getting up and going to work in this time, we still got to remain prudent. And I say this because I was thinking, this not like me, correcting another brother. This was just me musing in the spirit, correcting myself. You know, being just at work thinking like how much I didn't want to be there, how much you want to call off, how much you want to come late and just just But hey, it ain't over yet. It ain't over until it's over. So until it's over, we still got to maintain and be prudent. And we're gonna go into that word prudent a little later, Lord willing. But this is Jeremiah 29:5. It says, I'll start at 4. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, unto all that are carried away captives, whom I have caused to be carried away from Jerusalem unto Babylon. And America is a modern Babylon, Babylon reincarnated. Build ye houses and dwell in them, and plant gardens and eat the fruit of them. Take ye wives and beget sons and daughters, and take wives for your sons, and give your daughters to husbands, that ye may bear sons and daughters, that ye may be increased there and not diminished. And that's what we did in this captivity here. Now, the captivity not as harsh as it was during slavery days, but we captives nonetheless. You need a license, you need a permit, you need building permissions, you got to pay taxes, and you're tributary. All right, so we're still in captivity. And what did we do in this captivity? We begat sons and daughters. We builded houses or rented them. All right, planted gardens, and we lived. Took wives or whatever. It says, and seek the peace of the city, where I have caused you to be carried away captives, and pray unto the Lord for it. For in the peace thereof shall ye have peace. But that was in the time of Babylon. But because the Lord had made Nebuchadnezzar that head of gold. But now we're not seeking the peace of America, and we seeking the destruction of it through the scriptures. We tearing this place down with the scriptures. But in our everyday life, we seek the peace of our bosses and our contemporaries and people we work with, and somebody in a line at the grocery store that cut in front of us or said something to them. A lot of things we keep the peace, because the scriptures tell you, if at all possible, live peaceably among all men. So you take the little mini L's and you curse them out in your head, or you vent to a brother, and you let off steam that way. But we don't react impulsively, because we still have to endure. The scripture says, "He that endureth until the end, the same shall be saved." Now, enduring is holding on to this truth and believing in the Lord until you die, if you die. But how do you hold on and believe? All right, you still got to be prudent, because the wisdom teaches you prudence. All right, let's get Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 8 and 7. I'll start at 5. If riches be a possession to be desired in this life, what is richer than wisdom that worketh all things? Wisdom of Solomon also tell you, wisdom leadeth you to a kingdom, if your desires be thrones and scepters. It says, and if prudence work, who of all that are is a more cunning workman than she? And if a man love righteousness, her labors are virtue. So the labors you put in to receive righteousness, it's a virtue to you. The constantly taking the L, that's laboring in righteousness, because the scripture said that's part of being humble. The scripture says, he that humble himself shall be exalted. Roughly paraphrasing. The scripture speaks about study to show thyself approved, or workman need not be ashamed. All right. It says, for she teacheth temperance and prudence, justice and fortitude, which are such things as men can have nothing more profitable in their life. And temperance is, the elder brothers of this camp, GMS Indiana, I'm thinking of Elder Demashpai in particular. It's one of the things I remember earlier coming to the truth. He said constantly, the hardest thing in the truth is balance. That is like the hardest thing in the truth is balance. Knowing when and when not, and the scriptures teach you that, and that falls under prudence. This is Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time to every purpose under the heaven. So you gotta know these times and these purposes, and by knowing these times and purposes, you know how to respond. All right. It says a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up. So you got to know when it's the time to break something down. You might have to break yourself down, you know, and build yourself back up. You might be too proud. You might be too high minded, you know. It says a time to weep and a time to laugh. It's not all about happiness and fun and joy right now. We ain't living in a time of laughing right now. It says a time to mourn and a time to dance. We still in captivity. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. Sometimes you it's a time to get. You know, them blessings just running over, and it's like you got the Midas touch, you know, basically meaning everything you touch turn to gold, figuratively speaking. You're just successful. And then sometimes it's a time to lose. And if you're trying to hold on to the stuff that you should be losing, you further destroy yourself. For example, I had some jewelry that I had put in the pawn shop, and the way these pawns work, sometimes if you take too long, you can't get it back. And I ended up putting some money down to get it back, and I forgot about it. And I went to go and get it, and it was like, no, you took too long. And so I ended up losing my jewelry and losing the money that I put down on it. Now, one of my initial thoughts was like, man, I'm getting it back, because that was, it was a physical thing that I actually liked it. You know, that was something I wanted. Like, that's my thing. I like jewelry. I wanted it. But I would have basically weakened or hurt myself further financially if I would have went through those hoops to go and get it, to re-get it. I already done lost $200. Now I'm finna go and put another 4, 5, and then at that time, no, it was a time to lose that. All right, a time to keep and a time to cast away, a time to rend and a time to sow, a time to keep silence and a time to speak. And that's important too. Sometimes it's a lot of times it's best to keep silent. All right. Like, it's not always good to let somebody know that you own to their bullshit, especially when you're out in the world, the work environment, different people that's not in the truth that you have to deal with on a regular basis, depending on your circumstance, It says a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. All right, so let's look up definition of prudent. Okay, what is this? Prudent. This is Edom Online. This is the etymology of the word prudent. With knowledge, deliberate. See, when you got knowledge, you can make a deliberate and a skilled decision. You're not just out there impulsive. You're making a deliberate action based off knowledge. It says from Latin prudentum, knowing, skilled, sagacious, circumspect. The scripture says be wise, be circumspect. Rarely, in literal sense, foreseen. All right, look ahead, prepare, supply, act with foresight. So we got the foresight. The scriptures give you foresight. We know what's going to happen because the scriptures told us what's going to happen. But now how do we act and how do we operate? All right. The scripture speaks about wisdom will, matter of fact, let me get that. Like wisdom will be like a mighty stone of trial. This is Sirach 6:20. I start at 19. Come unto her as one that ploweth and soweth. Come unto wisdom, plowing and sowing. The scriptures constantly speaks about farm work, because that's hard work. Them people that be working on farms be strong and they never lift weights in their life and just be strong. It says, and wait for her good fruits. And you got to wait. You know, it's seasonal. It says, for thou shalt not toil much in labor about her, but thou shalt eat of her fruits right soon. She is very unpleasant to the unlearned. And you get, and I was experiencing that. But the scripture speaks about wisdom shall meet him in every thought. You be cut. Because that's to just always calling off work and to be showing up late and to just be feeling like the scripture said the end is not yet. So you got to endure it like one of the elder brothers said not too long ago, man, you got to suffer that shit. And, you know, you have your little moments, you have your little, your little weak points. But, like, for that to be a perpetual thing, that's this scripture manifesting if it's, like, perpetual. She is very unpleasant to unlearn. He that is without understanding will not remain with her. She will lie upon him as a mighty stone of trial. And he will cast her from him ere it be long. All right. For wisdom is according to her name, and she is not manifest unto many. All right. So back in dealing with prudence, it says, this is Proverbs 22:3. It says, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. So you can just like see, and I'm using I use workplace references a lot because that's when I'm around people. If I ain't at work, I'm with the brothers or, my woman or like I ain't just got like friends that's not in the world. I mean, friends that's in the world that's hanging with. I'm at work or I'm with the brothers at the grocery store. I ain't just out there interacting with people like that. But when you interact with people, that's when you gotta apply the scriptures. You see something that it's a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hide himself. You just see things like, no, I ain't finna get involved with that. I'm not finna even, entertain that. I'm not finna voice my opinion on that. But the simple pass on and are punished, right? But the simple just acting impulsively and then ultimately this the evil that's coming is the hard times that's coming to this world. That's why the scripture says wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, because it's gonna be real unstable out here. The scripture says the land shall be barren of faith. Everybody that think they believe in the Lord is gonna be put to the test, and a lot of them ain't gonna make it. So if it's and we actually got the name. We believe on the Lord truly, not according to Christianity. And even us, Lord willing, we endure, but it's written that even all of us ain't gonna continue. So how much more like the scripture says, if judgment shall begin at the house of God, how much more shall the ungodly appear? So how much more the other people, And when they with these race wars get to popping off, and the Lord let loose these spirits messing with people, and martial law and things like that, we foresee that evil, because the word prudent means to foresee, to have knowledge, to act deliberately. It says next verse, Psalm 32:7. Thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about. Hold on. I had that lined up for something. Oh, right. Proverbs 22:3. A prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself. Where you gonna hide at? You're gonna hide in the Lord. All right. The Lord is a strong tower. The righteous run into it and are safe. Only because thou made the Lord thy refuge. Well, I believe that's Psalm. Is that Psalm 91? You make the Lord your refuge. Salakia. Right. He that dwelleth in the secret place of the most, a secret place, a hiding place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, he is my refuge. and my fortress, my power. In him will I trust. Right. It says, Psalm 32:7, thou art my hiding place. Thou shalt preserve me from trouble. Thou shalt compass me about with songs of deliverance. So with that, Lord willing, this was the edifying lesson to the hopeful elect. Call Halal Yahweh by Shem Yahushai by Shem Kakodash. Shalom wa Abba.